The story begins at the horse ranch in Lincolnton, owned by the Pratt family. Adeline is the oldest girl amongst the family's 10 children, and horse riding is her favorite thing to do. Max takes care of the saddles and other things needed for the stables, but he doesn't like to ride them, fearing for his safety. Joseph is the oldest son, followed by Matthew, who is just 19. The youngest is Adeline's brother, Eli, who is just 9 months old, and Kayleen usually looks after him. Adeline remarks that their father is one of the strongest men she has ever seen, but he keeps a dark secret, and all of the kids are scared to death of him. Until now, it's just been Emily, one of her other sisters. But now Adeline is 18 and she's scared. She summons the courage and asks her father if they could talk in private. He agrees and they both go inside the home. She asks him to stop being her sister Emily, but this infuriates him, and he punches her hard. He then takes off his belt and lets her have it, punishing her for daring to question his authority. Her mother is powerless to do anything and runs outside as soon as he screams at her. Out of nowhere, something spooks the horses and they start running in all directions, creating chaos outside. The dad goes outside to see what was happening and coordinates everything, but someone comes out of the forest and moves towards them. It was a group of people, but something was wrong about them. They all looked evil and had the cross mark over their faces. There were hundreds of them, and they all start running towards the farm, threatening the Pratt family. The dad orders his people to open fire and hold the fence while the girls try to get away using the trucks. The swarm of crossed rushes towards them, using knives and other handheld weapons to kill as many of them as they can, but the dad was strong and holds his own. An ambulance comes driving out of nowhere and crashes into the family's truck, completely destroying it. The driver was also turned into one of the crossed and wasn't himself anymore. Adeline goes inside one of the stables trying to free the horses and finds Max raping her sister. They were both turned as well and they attack her, but she uses her shotgun to kill Max. Emily jumps towards her, calling her a jealous whore, but Dad comes just in time and blasts her wide open, killing her on the spot. Left without a car, the Pratt family is forced to jump on the horses and make a run for it. But it wasn't going to be easy. There were still many crossed left alive, but slowly, the dad clears a path for his family to escape. In the end, 9 members of the family survived, and they got away by riding into the nearby forest. On her 19th birthday, Adeline shot a man in the back who was running and screaming for help. He was being chased by the crossed, but she was afraid he would attract too much attention and expose her location. The town she was watching was infested with them, and they all came rushing out, trying to figure out where the shot came from. 2 weeks later, she reunited with her brothers Joseph and Matthew, who were doing the same thing she was doing, scouting nearby cities and towns to see if the infected were still there. Sadly, the crossed have spread everywhere, including churches, proving that not even bishops were immune to this disease. After they lost the horse ranch, the family traveled north and built another home for themselves, surrounded by mountains and trees, far away from what was left of civilization. The dad had had to learn to adapt, studying the crossed and learning as much as he could from them. Meanwhile, his family grew, and they even took in strays, a group of people from California who were searching for a safe place. But Dad ruled with an iron fist, and people who disobeyed him were sentenced to death. Adeline and her brothers return home and the family is reunited, having dinner together again after many weeks apart. It's the older kids' job to keep an eye out for the crossed and make sure they don't get too close to the ranch, hoping they never get ambushed again like it happened in Lincolnton. The group that came from California was being chased by an infected, and Dad was able to capture it. He studied it as much as he could, trying to learn more about it, to see how they behave and what keeps them alive. But it was close to dying now. The man starts talking crazy, saying things about the dad and his ugly side, which prompts him to rush his kids outside. After spending a few days at the ranch, Dad wants his oldest kids to go back into the wild and scout the areas. Adeline wants to see her sister Kayleen, but she was busy with something and couldn't say goodbye. Back into the wild, Adeline spies on a group of survivors, remarking that they won't last long if they use fire to warm themselves. The smoke will alert the crossed and it won't be long until they get overrun. Suddenly, she realized what the infected man was saying and thinks that her dad is raping her sister Kayleen. She goes back home and finds Hannah making love with Dad on the bed. She is furious and demands to know what happened to Kayleen, so they decide to show her the truth. She was taken advantage by Dad multiple times, which made her want to kill herself. She went into the cell with the crossed man, but by the time they were able to separate them, it was already too late, and she had turned as well. Adeline couldn't stop herself from crying and blamed herself for leaving her. She curses her dad, but this pisses him off and he attacks her, slamming her head into the wall. He claims he is God's prophet and everything he does is in his name. Back where Adeline spied on the people inside the abandoned building, a couple of crossed found her stuff, and one of them is able to pick her scent by sniffing her shit. Adeline was locked in one of the town's prisons, but her mom brings her food in the morning. Adeline blames her mother as well for failing to keep her daughter safe and not standing up to dear old dad. But it's too late for her. She is completely brainwashed and calls him a prophet, saying this is a new world and the prophet must remain strong for the coming days. The Crossed have picked up the scent and were on their way to the farm, and dad confronts his daughter for failing to do her job. She wasn't supposed to come back home. She was supposed to stay nearby and watch out for the infected. He goes all out on her, accusing her of being possessed by the devil, slamming her against the walls and the ground. Everyone in the village begins to panic while the Crossed slowly advance towards them. Luckily, the village is surrounded by traps, and they are slowed down enough for the people to mount a defense. Unfortunately, not even fire is enough to stop them from charging towards the village, which leaves everyone in shock. While this was going on, the dad rapes Adeline as well for the first time, but the mother catches them doing it. She grabs her daughter and takes her out of the cell and asks her to rest. She then takes the keys and locks herself inside together with the crazy dad. She finally realized what kind of monster he truly was and decided to do something about it. She takes a jar filled with the blood from the infected prisoner and covers herself with it. This transforms her into one of the Crossed, and her face is covered with a cross, just like the others. She then viciously attacks her husband, accusing him of neglecting her and only focusing on her own daughters. She puts a knife between her legs and stabs him in the mouth, instantly killing him. Adeline goes outside and finds the entire village in chaos, with the Crossed doing horrible things to her family and people. She gets on top of one of the horses and barely escapes the village together with other people who were still alive. The Crossed tend to cluster in small groups of 5 to 15 and they call them gaggles. If the group gets any larger, they usually turn on each other to keep the numbers low, and that's what happens when a group comes by. The survivors from New Eden decide to take them on. Adeline, Marilee, Jack and Kate were the core of the group. They also added a married couple, Liza and Merrick, good people who lost a kid when the outbreak began. Jethro Tully is a young kid, barely 18, but he was very good with the gun and takes out a few Crossed by himself. Together they take out the gaggles and celebrate it by marking it on the belt. They do this every time they kill a new group. After they survive the attack on New Eden, the group moved through Montana and Dakota, arriving in Canada, where it was safe for now. However, Adeline wants to go back after her two brothers, Matthew and Joseph, who left New Eden just before the attack. The group packs up their bags and heads back to the States, but the journey wasn't going to be easy. Out of nowhere, 3 cars surround them, and a guy named Harris introduces himself. He wants the group to get down from the horses and hand over their weapons, but Jack thinks it's a bad idea. Harris probably wants to rob their horses because once the gas runs out, those cars are going to be useless. Adeline refuses to surrender and gives the order to attack, giving Marilee a clear shot at Harris. Pretty soon all hell breaks loose, with dirt scattered everywhere as the cars make circles around the group. The men shot some of the horses, causing Kate to lose her balance and drop on the ground. Harris was still alive and fuming, asking his men to not shoot the horses and the group to surrender. Jethro gets shot and Hannah drags him onto her carriage, but luckily he was still alive. Merrick gets shot in the back by one of the attackers and instantly dies, while his wife, Liza, gets shot in the hip, but at least she's gonna make it. Some of the members manage to run on top of a nearby hill, while the people in the carriage get captured. Harris threatens them, demanding to give up the horses or he's gonna kill all of them. Adeline knows there's only one way out of this and charges them with her horse, shooting at the cars. However, the horse gets shot, causing her to drop to the ground and lose both of her guns. Harris thinks he's won and orders his men to kill the survivors, but someone shoots him in the head, blowing his brains out. It was Matthew, Adeline's older brother, who saw them fighting and decided to help. Everyone does their share and starts shooting, killing the attackers one by one, as they are unable to flee their cars. Not a single one of them was spared, and when it was done, the cars were covered in bullet holes. This was probably one of Adeline's happiest moments of her life, seeing her brother again just when she needed it the most. As badly limping as the group was, they had no choice but to go into town. They needed medicine and supplies, and luckily they found a hospital that had nursery. Hannah had gone into labor, and after 16 hours she gave birth to a beautiful baby boy, which she named Adam. Everyone was happy and congratulated her, but Adeline was sick to her stomach knowing who the father was. Lisa hadn't said more than 2 words since her husband was killed, and even though they got the bullet out of her, she was gonna limp for the rest of her life. She lost a kid, then her husband, and now she doesn't want to run anymore. She'd much rather stay here at the hospital and kill any Cross that come her way. Adeline wants to go back to New Eden and search for Joseph, her other brother who went missing. Matthew wants to go as well. It's his brother also after all. The journey was not gonna be easy, and Adeline leads the way trying to be strong, but she can't help herself from crying. Matthew is proud of her, saying she is the strongest of their family. She was the first one to stand up to their dad when all the rest were cowards. 5 days later, they get closer to New Paradise, but they come across a gruesome sight. Tens of people were killed and impaled on sticks, left to decompose in the open. Somewhere else, Joseph was taken prisoner and was being tortured by the Crossed. One of them unzips his pants and pees all over him, infecting him with whatever they had. It doesn't take long for him to get infected and turn into one of the Crossed. But the show wasn't over just yet, because his mother comes out of the forest, dressed provocatively. She wants him to fuck her and he doesn't waste any time, throwing his mother on the floor and having his thing with her. The whole group cheers from the sidelines as the mother and son go at it on the ground. Adeline tells her brother she doesn't want to keep running. They have too many wounded among them, while the others are not fit for fighting. Instead of going north like they planned, she wants to go south, maybe somewhere near the desert with Mexico, and build a camp there. Jack is very handy and will be able to get electricity eventually, while the mothers raise their kids in peace. After walking for a few more miles, they come across Joseph's dead horse, but there was no sign of their brother. A group of Crossed comes at them from the nearby forest, but they aren't organized and easily taken care of. While Matthew stays behind to finish the job, Adeline gets closer to New Eden, in hopes of finding her brother. Eventually she finds him, but she wasn't expecting her mother to still be alive and riding her own son. She throws a cocktail Molotov at them, lighting them on fire, and then leaves. She thought she had killed both of them, but her mom survives and promises to follow them wherever they go, even all the way to Mexico. After they left, Mother and one of her people make love, but she had other ideas. She takes her son's spine and kills the man with his head, hitting him until he was left breathless. She then takes out his organs and crawls inside his abdomen, finding shelter in the man's body. The two brothers return to the hospital and find Liza sitting on the bench. She hadn't left that spot ever since they came here. The Pratt reunites once again, but something was wrong. Kate had gone into labor as well, but it wasn't going smooth and she was in trouble. While they were away, Hannah got married to Jethro, but Adeline wasn't happy with this and scolded her younger sister. Unfortunately, the baby was sitting upside down inside Kate and refusing to come out. Normally, in cases like this, a doctor performs cesarean and takes the baby out, but there was a shortage of doctors. Mother had the man cut into pieces and wrapped his skin around her body, marching towards the hospital. She wasn't alone, and a big group of Crossed was tailing her, growing bigger and bigger as they moved along. Liza panics outside and shoots someone, firing her rifle at something. Jack, who was on the lookout, doesn't see anyone and thinks she is paranoid. He wants her to go back inside and have some dinner. She hadn't eaten in days. There is something wrong with her, because once she was inside, she took little Ely prisoner, holding a gun to his head. She claims they are all Crossed and they can't run from their destiny any longer. The world has shown its true face. Jack tries to calm her down, but before he could take her gun away, she blasts his brains out. Matthew decides to step in and tries to save his little brother, but he gets in the way, and Adeline can't get a clear shot. During the altercation, Liza shoots Eli in the head, instantly killing him, which prompts Pratt brothers to lose their shit. Adeline viciously attacks her, stomping on her head until there was nothing left of her. They didn't waste any time and took Eli outside to bury him, while she put some flowers on his grave. Jethro says that Jack was like a father to him, and he misses him dearly. He thinks that if they continue to follow Adeline, she's going to get everyone else killed, and going to Mexico is a bad idea. While all of this was going on, Mother and a large horde of Crossed were marching towards their location. While everyone was busy inside, Merrily goes on top of the hospital to see what was going on. She sees hundreds of Crossed walking through the city, marching towards them, and panics. Suddenly she sees her mom walking out of the forest, claiming she's come all this way to find her, but Merrily knows better and shoots her, injuring her shoulder. The gunshot alerted everyone nearby, and the group goes outside to see what was happening. Adeline wants Jethro to go inside and fetch Hannah, who was still with Kate helping her give birth. Kate was down to her final push, but it was a hard struggle and she was barely hanging on. Eventually, the baby comes out, a beautiful baby girl, and Hannah couldn't be happier that it was finally over. Adeline comes up with a plan. She ties a bunch of flashlights to the horses and sends them down the road, trying to lure the Crossed away from the hospital. The plan works, but the majority of them go inside, doing what they do best, behaving like animals and turning on each other. Mother is on a mission to find her daughters and searches for them, witnessing the horrific things her people were doing. Luckily, the group was able to escape through the sewers, and Kate names her baby Claire after her grandmother. When the baby started to cry, Hannah took her under her wing and started breastfeeding it. Luckily, she had plenty to go around. Adeline and Jethro split up, each going in a different direction, trying to find the exit out of the sewers. Unfortunately, the young boy runs into Mother, who was waiting for them in the darkness, and pins him to the ground. She bites off his lip, which instantly changes him into one of their own. However, he wasn't one of her children, so she quickly unzips his pants and he bangs her from behind. The group is eventually found hiding in a corner, and merrily tries to protect her sister. Kate asks them to run away and leave her behind because she can't run and they needed to save the babies. She then takes the rifle in her mouth, asking merrily to blow her brains out, fearing being turned into a crust. They wasted too much time and Mother eventually finds them. A fight erupts between them, but luckily Adeline returns and shoots Jethro in the shoulder, forcing her to release her sister. She then fires a second time, but this time she hits him right in the eye, blowing his brains out. Mother attacks Matthew and tries to bite his leg, hoping to turn him into a crust. Adeline takes her axe and cuts his brother's leg right off, just in time before the infection had a chance to spread into his blood. She then attacks her mother, opening her head wide open and leaving her dead in the water. The survivors made it out alive and found refuge in a nearby neighborhood, which was basically untouched ever since the outbreak began. They found books, games, bottled water, and canned goods, enough to last them a few weeks. Adeline goes outside trying to search for more supplies, but instead, she finds something else. The 3 horses that ran from the hospital were still alive. Luckily, the Crossed couldn't catch them, and they rushed to greet her. For the first time in weeks, Adeline felt hope again. The horses represent hope, a chance for the group to survive a bit longer in this unforgiving world.